Hey guys, and welcome to a new show that I haven't named yet. Uh, but hopefully you'll enjoy it. My name is Mark. I am from the UK. This is my friend Sean. He is from the Southeast United States.
Hey, what's
How are
up,
you
guys?
doing, Sean?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, this has been awesome. Mark has been on my channel one time. We had a great talk about James Bond, and it's awesome to finally get over on his for sure.
Yeah, that was so much fun, man. That was so much fun. Yeah, so go check out ZooBox if you can. So I guess what's on everybody's mind is the future of our civilization, the Kyle Rittenhouse.
Yes, everything is hanging on the balance of what's going
Yeah.
to happen with Kyle Rittenhouse.
Yep.
Because Kyle Rittenhouse, the interesting thing about this case that it presupposes the concept of like, are you allowed to defend yourself, and do you have a right to defend property? Do you have a
Well,
right to defend your personal property or, by extension, somebody else's personal property? And
yeah.
that's a big fucking deal in the U.S. That's a big deal because this is a psychic sea change, and it has been very disappointing. A year after the fact, year plus after the fact, and people are this split on something that is very straightforward.
I agree. I mean, one thing I would say is obviously the prosecution. They tried to move it to property. They were trying to make it out like as though he killed them defending property. But I think it's even more specific than that. It is like you said at first. It's just blatant self-defense. It's like, are you allowed to defend yourself from an aggressor?
Mhm.
And some people have talked about, I can't remember how they phrased it, but the sort of equivalency of force. So I guess so. If we run it back for anybody that hasn't quite followed the whole story, so and feel free to interject with anything that I haven't got correct.
Okay.
So we had the police shooting of Jacob Blake, who I believe had raped his ex-girlfriend, or she claimed. Oh, bollocks. It doesn't matter.
No, well, Jacob Blake had
Algorithm stung me now.
our rap
Yeah.
allegations.
R4P. R4P3.
Yeah, R4 3P or P3. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Jacob Blake had like a basically a restraining order, and it was for assault. He had sexually assaulted his ex girlfriend.
Yep.
He had broke the restraining order. That's why the cops came. He was there to steal her car, and the kids were in the car, which I think are his children.
Yeah.
But changes nothing, and he ends up getting tased like twice on the way trying to get into the car. The cops are literally trying to wrestle him, try to do every deterrent that you possibly can without shooting somebody until he goes into the car and reaches for a knife, and then
Yeah.
the cop shoots him.
And he grabbed the knife, didn't he? He had the knife in his
I
hand.
I believe so. I don't want to say for sure, but I do believe so. But it was completely justified. Even Biden's Department of Justice could not find fault in the officer's actions, and they would have fucking went for that if they could have.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so that spurred off a bunch of riots because anytime anything involving the police and a black person in the past couple of years is a cause for riots,
Yep.
no matter what the context is.
It is. So there you go. There's a picture of the riots that were sparked in Kenosha. I don't know if you.
Fiery, but mostly peaceful.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, the riots I believe started on the 23rd or the 24th of the month. I can't remember.
I think it's like starts on the
August?
23rd, but yeah, August 23rd, 24th, 25th.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Yep. And Kyle he'd been there, hadn't he? On one night, I think the 24th, maybe.
Well, Kyle worked in Kenosha, and Kyle is like he's kind of like a Boy Scout to a certain degree. He was like part of like an explorers program, which is like the Boy Scouts for police. He wanted to be a police officer. He was very civically minded. He was out there earlier in the day, like washing graffiti off the wall. This was before any of this stuff happened, so it's not like he was staging something to make himself look like some innocent babe.
Yeah.
That's just seemed like the kind of person he was, and he's familiar with firearms. They're comfortable with that kind of stuff, especially in the Midwest, especially in that part of the country. It's like just more of a normal thing, normal, average thing for teenagers and people to have rifles and whatnot. And he basically gets asked by his friend to come down to guard these used car lots, and he ends up just going down with her, and kind of just like anybody when they're a kid. Have you ever been in that situation? You're 16, 17, and people are like, hey man, you want to come do this thing? Yeah, sure, why not? Cool. Yeah, of course I want to go protect. Like, I want to stop people from burning this place to the ground.
Yeah.
So then he ends up there that night because of that, and then what happens.
Yeah. So yeah, from what I've seen, essentially throughout the evening, Joseph Rosenbaum, who is a mid-30s child lover.
Yeah, he's a
Convicted
child
lover.
He's a convicted child abuser.
And
like brutal child abuser, not like some
when I
passive
read,
like.
oh,
Yeah, he didn't inappropriately hug somebody. Like
yeah,
nothing like that. You know, it's actually like serious
child
mental
hater.
illness. He actually had gotten out of a mental institution that morning because he had been admitted for trying to commit suicide and assaulting his girlfriend.
Yeah, who had a what do you call it out? A cease and desist. They call it here. You would call it
I think it's a restraining order or
a
like
restraining order. Sorry, yeah.
he wasn't supposed to see her, which none of this stuff it was admitted to trial. By the way, this is not part of the evidence of the trial because which I understand because I don't want anything to prejudice anything because the facts of the matter, the self-defense thing is so clear.
Yes.
You don't need to bring in anything else.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
You don't need to fluff it up. And so they thought it'd be a great idea to go out and obviously protest. And he went, or met up at least, with his friend, Joshua Szyminski. Joshua Szyminski is a pivotal individual in the events of that night because the first shot fired that night was by Joshua Szyminski.
Yes.
So they essentially ended up, after telling Kyle that if they caught him alone, they would fucking eat his heart, something like that.
Yeah.
And also, if they found him alone, that they would fucking kill him. There came a point in the evening where Kyle was on his own because they were told to stay in pairs. And Kyle's battle buddy decided that it was time for a sandwich. So he went. Yeah. So he went to the gas station, petrol station, to go and get a sandwich, and Kyle was left on his own for 26 seconds. And in that 26 seconds, Joshua Szyminski and Joseph Rosenbaum decided that now was a pretty good time to possibly take vengeance on this young man. And so
because they were mad at him for he was putting out fires. They had.
Yeah.
I know Rosenbaum specifically, they were trying to start a dumpster fire and roll it into a gas station. Not aggressive behavior at all. Not like psycho behavior at all, guys. But fuck Kyle Rittenhouse, right? Because he's trying to stop these noble protesters out there for their noble cause, yeah? Fucking even if Jacob Blake had been shot unfairly, even if it was a bad shoot,
yeah,
those people would still be pieces of shit. Okay?
100%.
Like, if you're over there trying to destroy a fucking community, it's one you're not even from, by the way.
Yeah.
Kyle Rittenhouse had more cause to be in Kenosha than Joseph Rosenbaum and the Szyminski dude. So they went there.
Gage Groskraus as well. Gage Groskraus was from
he's
further
from
away.
Farther away, yeah. Walking around with an illegal firearm in his back pants, just stuffed in the back of his pants with a paramedic hat on.
Yeah, such a doofus, man.
He crossed state lines, dude. Crossed state lines with an illegal firearm.
Yeah. Yeah, that was Anna. God, man, if I hear Anna say that phrase one more time, but luckily we won't have to because the lawyers told her to apologize. So she has apologized. So so he's chasing. So Joshua Szyminski fires a shot, and I'll give him his due. You know, I'm not going to lie about anything like you will see on the mainstream media. It looks to me like he's firing it in the air. It definitely doesn't look like he's firing it directly at Rittenhouse, at the very least. So I will say that.
Yeah, I guess like the speculation from that is that like it was like a way to distract Kyle. Like, because Zeminski's like, on one side of Kyle, Rosenbaum's kind of on the other.
Yep.
and they're converging. Their paths are converging. Zeminski sees him, shoots the gun in the air, maybe try to freak the kid out or something. And that's when
Yeah.
he notices Rosenbaum is behind him. Rosenbaum yells, "Fuck you." And this is after Rosenbaum had chased him a little bit, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Throwing
Yeah. That's
the
right.
plastic bag. Everybody's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, you can't shoot somebody for throwing a plastic bag at you." Well, that's not what happened.
Yeah.
So, like, he literally lunges at Kyle, screaming, "Fuck you," and then grabs the barrel of his gun, and Kyle shoots him 4 times. Um,
Yes. And some people were saying, well, he could have run around the corner, but as we
I
saw in court, there were 100 Antifa and BLM rioters around the
don't you
corner.
don't you love it? All these assholes, all these anti Kyle Rittenhouse assholes. They're like people that get offended when you like call them a name on Twitter, and they act like you cause violence against them, talking about what you should do in a high pressure situation when somebody is attacking you. Give me a
I know.
break. These people would be on their knees crying if they were
Dude, I
in the
would be.
dude. That kid, that is some fucking calm. That is discipline. He's a 17-year-old kid. He didn't turn around and just spray and pray like
No,
you think maybe a scared kid would.
dude. Well, so when, and I know you know this, but just for everyone else, when he's halfway across the parking lot, Rittenhouse, he turns around with the gunshot that Shaun is talking about from Zeminski. He turns around because obviously he's like, Jesus, there was a gunshot close, within 20 meters, 20 yards. And Rosenbaum throws his hands up, but not as the prosecution are trying to say. It was like, hands up, don't shoot. It was that kind of like,
Yeah,
what you
yeah.
gonna do? And he could have shot him, but he didn't because he had his hands up. And
Hmm.
then Carl turns around and continues running, gets to the corner, and as you've already said, Rosenbaum catches up with him, grabs the gun, and yeah, four shots in 7/10 of a second. So I did see someone yesterday saying, "Well, is it or is it not true that Kyle shot him in the back?" Uh,
Well, because he was falling forward. Yes,
exactly. Like, yes, it's true, but that was because he was lunging at the gun, and as one of Kyle's bullets
it's like
seared through his pelvis.
it's one of those questions. It's like, tell me that you haven't watched any of the video without telling me you haven't
Yeah,
watched
yeah,
any of the video because it's fucking clear as day. That's
yeah,
the most infuriating. Like a day later, the entire timeline was built. We can almost watch the entire night in real time,
yeah,
almost, because
yeah,
people are streaming, people
yeah,
are taking cell phone footage. People have also there's some people have gone and edited all these different angles of everything all lined up at the same time.
yeah.
It's fucking clear as day what happened. There is no confusion.
10
They
years
just
ago, Sean, this doesn't even make the papers.
it doesn't even make the papers. No, it doesn't. No.
Like, if there's no BLM, if there's no BLM angle, and there is no, kind of big, well, any of the other kind of big angles that we have with it. So there is a little bit of, well, there is a fairly large amount of left-wing politics involved. I guess you've got a dash of BLM involved, and then a dash of the sort of anti-gun culture involved. If you take those elements away and you go back 10 years, take it from two early middle-aged men, that this does not make the papers. No one gives a shit. The prosecutors laugh in the face of the local politician
Yeah,
when
they
he says, "Could you do them?"
this never goes to trial.
No,
No.
100% this doesn't get a trial. Rittenhouse is being used as a political pawn, but I imagine most people gather that. So, and then after this, obviously, Kyle makes his way towards the police after calling his friend to sort of tell him what he's done and ask him what to do, and he makes his way to the police. Some of you might have seen in my other videos, I've played the video as he's making his way to the police. A crowd, well, the people are asking him what he's done and why he did it. Like, why'd you shoot him, Kyle? And all of a sudden, you just hear this, "Get him!" and
Not
other
even not even
things.
not even they say cranium him,
It
which
was, yeah, there's
means
a few
to
different,
bash his fucking head in.
yeah,
So yeah, Kyle, I guess should have just stopped and tried to have a conversation with these people. Like, are you fucking out of your minds?
yeah. The prosecutor, when he goes, "Why didn't you said that you hadn't shot someone or that he had a gun. Why did you
Like,
tell him that?" And Kyle goes, "Because I had an angry mob chasing me down the street. Like,
he's
this
like, I
isn't
don't know,
police
Kyle.
academy."
Does that look like a mob to you, Kyle? It's only about 40 people. He
Yeah,
even, dude, they like some of the prosecution, some of the stuff they said was so insane.
I
But
know.
when that Grouchwitz dude, or that Grouchwitz, is that how you say
Gross,
his name?
gross Krauts.
Gross, what is it?
Gross. I think it's gross Krauts or gross Kreutz. So it's
Grosskreutz. Okay.
Keutz.
They said like when the prosecutor's trying to grill Kyle on the stand, who did is about as good as a human being could possibly do being questioned.
100%.
Um, like he said, your AR-15 is like that's bigger than a pistol. So why were you afraid of a pistol if you had an AR-15? He
Yeah.
also said Joseph Rosenbaum was pretty short. He's like 5'2". I mean, really, what could he do? Were you afraid of this 5'2" man?
Yeah. It
Like
was
you're like,
twice your age.
what the fuck?
I
What the
know.
fuck are you talking about? Well, because the prosecution has no case, so they have to make it about everything other than the facts.
Yeah,
Other,
exactly.
it's all about they want to suggest Kyle's a white supremacist. They want to suggest that he's part of some dangerous militia. They say that he went there to hunt people,
Oh
which
my
is like
God.
this is a narrative, but this isn't a popular one amongst like psychotic celebrities.
Yes, like Joy
Um,
Behar.
Joy Behar, Joy Reid,
God,
fucking
those people.
this guy Rex Chapman. He used to play basketball. He's very popular on Twitter because he found out that if you share
Grift.
share funny videos, people will just retweet you and you'll get followers. And then
Yeah.
he shares political opinions about like Kyle Rittenhouse went there to shoot black people, which is another narrative. Some people, Mark, some people didn't even know that Kyle didn't shoot black people until the trial happened.
Jesus. Are you
Like that's how.
serious?
This is why it's so disturbing. What's going on? And this is I know this is a global problem, and I experience it through the lens of being an American. But the amount of people that have opinions of things that they haven't even bothered to look at is fucking insane. And they not only have opinions, they have strong opinions.
Yeah.
Strong opinions because this is partisanship. The ugliest version of partisanship is asking for the blood of a 17 or 18-year-old kid to make you feel better,
Yeah.
like for no reason. What is there to gain? What did Joe Biden gain from calling Kyle a white supremacist?
Oh, I
Like
know, dude.
fucking insane shit. So, but yeah, so and then like you said, like so Kyle goes there, people are screaming shit at him. Some
Oh,
people
sorry.
catch up.
To
Some
continue.
people catch up to him. Somebody tries to
Yeah, so they
fucking kick him in the face.
yeah. Yeah, so you got Jump Kick Man, who is the only African American person involved. Oh well, other than Yellow Pants Man, because they've all been given like manga names.
Yeah.
Like Jump Kick Man, Yellow Pant Man, uh, and then other people have invented names for some of the witnesses. So there's Grambo for the for the
For the
grandma.
grandmother, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah. So Jump Kick Man. Well, no. At first, somebody hits Carl on the back of the head, and he drops to the ground. And then Jump Kick Man runs in, and as his name would suggest, tries to jump kick him. And then he sort of runs as he's tried to jump kick him, and he sort of lands a foot somewhere in Carl. I think Carl said it was more on his neck and his like the lower back of his head.
Mhm.
He then runs off, towards the sidewalk or the pavement if you're in the UK, and then Anthony Huber comes in, who was the second actual fatality,
Mhm.
and he tries to hit Kyle with the side of his skateboard. And I can tell people, because I am a former skater, uh, people think of skateboards like just as the basic deck. Like this is a very old one. This is
Mhm.
from probably 30 years ago, actually. I love it. But yeah, it's plywood. It's I think 9-layer plywood, and when you have the trucks and the wheels attached, this thing weighs a sufficient amount, and you don't even have to know how much it weighs. You can see people using them to break car windshields. If it's going to break a car windshield, it's going to
It'll
do you some damage.
it'll
And the reason I
bust your
say
head.
that,
It'll bust your head open. Yeah.
yeah, the reason I say that is because the sort of mainstream media have been laughing at the suggestion that a skateboard could be a dangerous weapon. well, okay, Joy Behar, put your head here, and
Oh
I'm
my
gonna
god.
smash you over the head. Anyway,
She is something else.
she
She's
really
I like
is.
I don't like I get physically angry when I hear Joy Reid speak.
Me, yeah. Both of
I
the
s-
Joys are just evil beasts from hell.
oh
Um,
she's evil. Like she's a gross person. Like a
I agree,
gross racist asshole. A
hundred
real
percent.
see you next Tuesday if you know what I mean.
Yeah, 100%. It's really sad to me that
Imagine those people calling you a pussy because you don't want to get hit in the head. Those fucking people specifically because you because it hurts to get hit in the head with a fucking skateboard. These
yeah,
people would break a nail and cry. Like it is
yeah,
fucking insane. It's so infuriating how
yeah.
detached from reality they are.
That's a good word. Infuriating. It really is infuriating. Like you say, like these people wouldn't have the first idea what to do in this situation. This kid is 17. He's already shot someone that has tried to take his gun. He's already been shot at before he fired a single round. He had been, he had had a gunshot in his in his
Yes,
vicinity. So, and he didn't know it wasn't at him. He just heard that it was 20 yards away. If you've got
exactly.
people chasing you and a gunshot goes off 20 yards away and the whole scene unfolds, you have no idea whether that was shot at you or in the air or, 45 degrees between the two. He's now had a mob chasing after him. We heard clearly cranium him, get that dude, and F him up.
Mhm.
Clearly, those were heard, and people followed those orders, like we've seen. Jump kick man, the guy that initially got Carl to the ground by smashing him on the back of the head. I don't know if it was a weapon or just with his fist. You obviously Anthony Huber here with the skateboard, and what not many people have been told, especially again by the mainstream media, is Anthony Huber again tried to take his weapon.
Yeah.
So in the next frame after this, which I may or may not have, um, you can see him holding on to the sling of Kyle's firearm because as he goes low to the ground with the weapon and they sort of end up in a bundle together with Anthony Huber on top, he grabs the sling to try and yank the whole thing off Kyle.
Yeah.
Kyle manages to, you know, maintain, his weapon and fires one or two shots at Anthony Huber. He was dead before he hit the ground because it was a extremely traumatic shot that went through one lung and through his aorta and through his heart. So listen, I'm not trying to make anything better or worse because I frankly don't give a shit because this is the most black and white case of self-defense I've ever seen. But yeah, so he was dead before he hits the ground, and then we have Gage Grosskreutz. Gage Grosskreutz. Fuck's sake, man! It's those Germans up in Minnesota and Wisconsin. Like from the 1800s, they had an influx of German immigrants.
Hmm.
That's why we've got Rosenbaum, Rittenhouse, Huber, and then whatever the other guy's name was. Zeminski, I guess, is Polish. But yeah, anyway, so Grosskreutz is running towards him as Carl looks back towards the people that are running towards him, and he stops dead in his tracks because Carl is aiming a weapon at him. He puts his hands up, and in his right hand is a Glock 40. So a 40 caliber, significantly larger than Carl's meager 223 caliber.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, hands in the air. Kyle lowers his rifle to the ground. At which point, Grosskreutz thinks it's a great idea. He's 5 feet away from Kyle. A great idea to now rush Kyle. This was not a great idea because he tried to rush Kyle and he put the gun to Kyle's head from around 18 inches away. It's seen, excuse me, in two different pictures. It's directly aimed at Kyle's face.
Yeah.
Kyle raises his gun, one shot, vaporizes Grosskreuz's right bicep, and yeah, eliminates the threat.
Which is crazy. And the Grosswitz, like his testimony being kind of like all over the place. And then he's given some interviews in the interim after the fact. He's just not a credible person. And I don't understand. And it's completely self-inflicted. He could have just been like, yeah, I was going to detain him. But he didn't say that. He said, I went to surrender to him.
Such an idiot,
like
man.
and
Oh,
like everybody sees what you did, you piece of shit.
yeah,
You tried to fake him out. You put your hands down. Oh, hey, no, nothing, no problem. And then
yeah,
you went up and tried to put a gun in his face.
absolutely,
Get fucked, buddy.
absolutely. And listen, like
And he's
this
another
guy,
degenerate piece of shit. He's another degenerate piece of shit. He's involved in some subversive communist movement in the United States. One of these, he's like, what? He's a speaker or he's affiliated. I'm sorry,
yeah,
he's not a
yeah,
member. He's affiliated with them, and
yes,
they're violent revolutionaries. This is what they do. They come here to. They literally just go to wherever chaos is to
this
create
is
more.
their hobby.
Yeah, yeah,
They enjoy. So, as somebody that doesn't live in the United States, I think a lot of Americans, and listen, I know that everything is relative, and to Americans, uh, $4 for a gallon of gas is pricey,
yeah. Not for
and
you
I
though.
and yeah, and I can understand that if you've been paying $2.50 for a gallon of gas, $4 is very expensive. But where I live, it's $9.80 for a gallon of gas,
Yeah,
and
yeah, because they're trying to get you guys to stop using cars.
correct. So under Trump, our fuel was around $4.80, $5 for a gallon.
Hmm.
And within 12 months of Biden taking power, we're now paying nearly $10. And
Oh,
I have a
these are
viewer, a very good guy.
these are metropolitan concerns, Mark. You should not be concerning your. These are metropolitan inflation and the effects of it. And you know what? You know what? Honestly, we did have a pandemic. Where's all your money? Weren't you saving
Yeah,
money by staying home? You
yeah,
should be
that's
able to
true.
afford these things.
That's true. That's true. But yeah, so my point is just that I think sometimes I find it slightly humorous that you have people in the most powerful country on earth, the most wealthy country on earth, with very, very low living costs and very high average wages. Now, I understand that if you're in America, it doesn't seem like that all the time. I really do understand that. I don't want to
No,
make
of
light of
course.
this.
No, I
But
understand.
compared to many other places on earth, it could be a lot worse. And I just think, like, when you
Oh,
want a complete revolution, not just adjustments, you want a revolution. Imagine if you're in a country where it actually is really expensive to live and you don't earn any money.
well, that's yeah. I think that's a completely fair point, and I think like I do think it's like because they kind of showed their hand, especially even recently with the gas hikes in the United States. But like, well, maybe this will be encourage people to buy electric cars if they want cars at all, or take advantage of public services because all
Mm,
these people that make these kind of commentary, they all live in cities and they're all they have no fucking idea what it's like for most people in the country
absolutely.
because we don't all have access to buses and taxis and shit. Like we just don't. We have to
No.
have cars to get around.
Yep.
And
Absolutely.
it definitely hurts. I could tell you this: having everything at the grocery store go up by $1 and then have my gas double really affects is pretty substantial. Like
Yeah.
you're paying $100, like say every 2 weeks extra for groceries, and
Yeah.
you're on a tight budget. That you feel that you feel it.
Absolutely. And that's why I say, like, I can definitely understand, like, just the percentage increase is extremely painful. Um,
But to your I'm sorry, but to your larger point, you could be saved for like being a homeless person. Even being homeless in the United States is probably better than other places. You're living better than the vast majority of the world,
yeah.
of the population of planet Earth. You have a better quality of life than the vast majority of people in the world in the United States.
Yeah.
People take
And
this shit for granted in a way that I find so like I can understand being a teenager or being
yeah,
idealistic or in your early
shooting for
20s, mid
perfection.
20s. Yeah, you're very idealistic. You want everybody to have everything and everything should be fair and blah blah blah. But when
Yep.
you have people like this piece of shit who's clearly like headed into his 30s thinking that you have no right to like private property and
Yep.
deconstructing everything and burning everything and chaos and then something happens. They want this violent revolution. They want the revolution to happen. Somebody says, "Okay," and shoots your ass.
Yeah.
Now it's a step two. Now what's happening? What's going
Yeah.
on, everybody?
Yeah.
What's
Absolutely.
happening in this country? Fuck off. Sorry.
Yeah. No, no, I do.
I tell you what, if Kyle Rittenhouse goes to jail, I will be fully blackpilled. it'll be fucking
Yeah.
over for me. I'm gonna lose my mind.
But will you be what they've been saying on Rikita Law? So for those of you that want to follow the trial or even want to go back and see what happened in more detail, there is a guy called Nick Rikita. I think it's a Lithuanian name or something. Rekieta.
Yep,
Rikita
that's it.
Law. Really nice guy. Probably not that it matters because I have friends from both sides of politics, just not usually the far left. But yeah, I think he's considers himself to kind of be right of center.
Yeah, he's
And
like a little libertarian-ish,
yep,
ish.
he says I think small L libertarian, and he
Yes.
votes. It doesn't even
He's
matter what he votes. He's a good dude. He's based. He's normal, and that's what we
yes.
need more of in this world. He has done some amazing coverage of this whole trial. So yeah. So sorry, as I was going to say, but then we sort of got swept away in my rant. This guy said he had nothing to do with the Communist Revolutionary Party of the United States or whatever it was called. It's some local kind of.
It's like the
Uh,
People's Front of Judea or
that's right.
something.
Yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I'm
The
saying?
People's Revolutionary.
I don't know
Army
if
or
you
something.
yeah, if you've
And
ever seen the Life of Brian,
yeah,
but that's kind of how they are. The People's Front of Judea, the Judean People's Front. Like that's how
yeah,
they are.
yeah. Great movie. So he said he wasn't anything to do with it, and then they said, have you ever spoken at one of these? And he was like, oh, well, only like once.
Yeah,
And he was like, have you ever said Vive la Révolution? And he was like, maybe, yes.
maybe once or twice.
And then he began to kind of break down. So I just brought up this picture because if you hadn't been following this case or you'd been following the LeBron James timeline of events, you would see this person. He looks well groomed. He looks like a reasonable man. I mean, how crazy can this person be? Except he didn't look like this at the time. And listen, I understand, doesn't matter what you look like, but it kind of does, let's be honest. You judge a book by its cover, like how psychotic does somebody look or not? He looks very meek and mild there. But when he had a 40 caliber Glock in his hand, he didn't look quite so meek and mild, and I will show you what he did look like.
Yeah, he looked like yeah. Well, you'll see.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't think we said it on the podcast. I'll repeat it.
Oh yeah, good point. Uh, okay, let's go for that one. I have a few.
My collection.
Yeah, yeah. I'm going every month from when you had. Yeah. Anyway. Okay, so let's do that and do that and bring it up. There we go. So as you can see, uh, you know, a lovely looking fellow.
Yeah.
Looks exactly the same as when he was on daytime TV to however many millions of Americans.
Yeah, he looks like a character from Trainspotting.
He did. Yeah, he
He
absolutely does.
He looks like a fucking junkie weirdo.
He does.
Not
He
to be
looks like.
dismissive. I understand people have drug problems and stuff, but fuck this guy.
Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, that's like yeah, but both of us can be sympathetic to people with addiction problems because we are decent human beings. But listen, we're allowed to throw these things around. It's just a joke. And
Yeah.
this dude does look like a smackhead. It's just.
Yeah, actually, have you ever seen the movie As Good as It Gets?
I don't know, maybe.
Okay, well, it won't make sense if you haven't. But he looks
Oh.
like Skeet Ulrich, who's a gay heroin addict, prostitute, that
I feel like
beats up a gay guy for money.
I feel like I
stars
might have seen that then.
Jack
Because that's definitely
Nicholson.
ringing a bell.
Jack Nicholson's in it.
Hmm.
It's a comedy. Sorry,
But
my bad.
no, it's fine. But yeah, so I don't know. I tell you what, I think he looks like an Antifa member.
Yeah, actually, good call. Yes, he looks like a generic NPC Antifa dude.
Yeah,
Because they all look like that
they
for
do.
some reason.
Yeah, they do. So anyway, so that pretty much finishes off the events. He went to the police. Because the police knew that they were going to be there, Carl and his 9 friends, that were all armed and had been asked to go there by an Indian family or Indian American family. Yeah, who had asked, but then they were really cagey, weren't they, in court? They
Yeah,
were like,
because
"Oh, it's my
they're
mum's business, it's my brother's business,
yeah,
it's my
because
dad's
there's
business."
clearly some sort of squirrely
Yeah,
tax evasion, inventory, where the money is, who works for who. This
yeah,
is pretty common. Um,
yeah,
this is pretty common for that stuff to be a little squirrely, at least in the United States, especially with a lot of a lot of immigrant families and stuff like that that come here and the liquor stores and
yeah.
gas stations and car lots, used
It's the
car lots.
same here as well. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's
So they were
always
very, very cagey about everything. Everything was somebody else's business. So it's not my business. And they bring another
yeah.
witness to
They
the
just didn't
stand.
want to say that they hired him because they think it might fuck with their insurance claim,
Yeah.
and also because you could be held liable to a certain degree.
Yes.
You might face some sort of backlash for hiring not professional security, basically.
Yeah. Yep.
So they
And
basically just denied that they had like, yeah, we just they were just there and we took pictures and we thought
yeah,
they looked cool.
I don't know how they got in. I don't know how they got in,
I
but
love
yeah.
that guy. That guy was nervous as fuck. Not the first guy. It was the second dude with
Oh
like
yeah.
the
Yeah.
coiffed hair.
Yeah.
Like that guy was so nervous, especially the second time when the defense called him up. Like
Yeah. He had no answers, did he? He had no specific
I can't
answers.
believe the prosecution put him on stand. Like,
I know.
and this was something watching the Ricada live streams. Like they're just like, did they not like interview these people? Like, why is this stuff coming out in trial like this? Like, how they were that was the crazy thing about this trial. Just to kind of skip forward a little bit, is that both sides actually have not done a great job.
Yeah.
Both sides. So there's been like this mutual mediocrity going on,
Yeah.
and they just kind of cancel each other's shit out constantly
Yeah.
because of how bad they are.
Yeah, it's like
Uh,
a battle of attrition rather than a battle of skill.
yeah, yes, yeah, exactly. It's
Who can
wild,
screw up the most?
but it's just like, why would like they because the prosecution did almost like a better defense than the defense did by the people they brought up. Like you're just
Yeah.
like, this is fucking wild. Like what is going on?
Yeah. Yeah, they did. So yeah, we know that Carl and these guys had been asked to look out for this four building business, which was used cars, car detailing, car preparation, and whatnot. And yeah, there was something very, very peculiar about that. Um, and yeah, so the police knew that they were going to be there. I believe we're going to hear today whether or not the police actually supplied Kyle with some armor, with some body armor or not. I really don't know. They really are clutching at straws because none of this stuff matters, really. Like, if you
No,
think about it, like, was he a threat to your safety? Yes. End of story.
yeah, that's it. Like the sequence of events, what the big things that he's being charged with, other than misdemeanors. It's all very self-explanatory, and you don't need anything else. You don't even need other context. You don't
No,
even need it. Like it
no.
is what it is.
Yeah. And so he hands himself into the police. At first, a couple of cars actually drive past him because, as I said, they knew that he would be there.
Yeah.
This has obviously been spun
Well,
into.
they didn't know that who he was, so he approaches the police
Yeah,
to
that's what I mean. So
yeah.
they
He
knew because
they
some
just
people have
knew
been
they
saying,
knew
"Oh,
that they were.
whites."
What? Sorry, what?
Some people have been saying, "Well, obviously the police are just white supremacists, and that's why they let a white man with a long gun walk off past them." And the reason that they let him walk off past them was because they knew that there were going to be, 10 dudes there with long
Yeah,
guns protecting a company, a business.
yeah,
So that's why.
doing their job for them, as they
Yeah,
fucking
yeah.
hung out on the outskirts of all the chaos and just let it happen. It's great. Like I would love to get those
Disgraceful.
people on the stand. Like, hey, cop, because some of these cops are not pro Kyle Rittenhouse.
No.
They're trying to they're like, no, it looks like he may have been the aggressor. He may have been provoked this attack by having his gun barrel 6 inches higher than we're telling you based on this blurry photograph.
Oh,
That's from the
yes.
cops. That's from the
Yeah.
police. That's police testimony based on a video he pulled off the fucking internet. He was not even his video. It's so infuriating.
Dude, keep going for 1 second because I'm going to try and find that picture because it's so ridiculous.
Yeah, so I would love if the police being asked point blank, would you shoot him if this happened to you on duty? They should have asked the police that point blank. Would that be a good shoot if somebody did
Oh,
what they
yeah, that
did
would
to
be
Kyle?
great. That would be
They should
amazing.
have been asked point blank. Like, Kyle Rittenhouse isn't there if the police aren't letting Kenosha burn.
Yep. No, 100%, because a lot of people have said, even actually veterans have said, I'm a 20-year veteran and I'm not sure if I could have done as good and as
Yeah,
calm a job.
heck, discipline. Like I said earlier, like you would think a 17-year-old kid would just turn around and start shooting. Like, no, he didn't. He actually showed like he was reserved in his action.
Yeah, very.
The Gross Switch guy is the perfect example. He didn't think he was a threat at first, so he lowers his gun. The guy aggresses on him, and then he lifts his gun back up. Like that's incredible to do that. Because you would think somebody just walking up on him, he might just shoot him. Because he's fucking, his adrenaline's pumping. He's terrified. He just shot a guy. People are trying to dome him. Like
Absolutely.
it's wild. It's wild.
It is wild. Okay,
and,
so
and it's like there's such a like systemic top down fucking failure. If people want to like really broaden out this conversation about why Kyle Rittenhouse was there in the first place, yes, there it is.
yes, so hold that thought though, Sean, because that's actually a really interesting point that I want to get to as well. So, guys, this is a picture which this blows my mind just seeing it zoomed this far out. So this is a drone picture. It was filmed in 844 resolution. It's being played through a 4K TV, which means, as far as I'm aware, you'll know more than this than me, Sean. But I believe that means that the TV is already filling in some space.
It doesn't. It upscales it, which can obscure the image. Like it
Okay.
can make things look slightly askew or different. What they have a problem with is like they used on an Apple iPad the pinch zoom feature, and there's an algorithm in that's proprietary, I believe, to Apple. I'm sure a lot of other things have a version of it where it will actually, to preserve the image, an AI algorithm will try to fill in what really can't be seen because of the pixels. So it'll actually add data to an image and
Yeah.
do what it thinks is there.
Yeah.
Um, and that's why the defense was trying to argue this. They did a really bad job of it.
A really
And
bad job.
and this is actually the one thing that could fuck Kyle Rittenhouse over.
100%.
Over
Explain
nothing.
why that is.
Because they're gonna claim provocation. They're using this to claim that Kyle Rittenhouse provoked being attacked by pointing a gun at somebody. So basically, they were saying like, oh well, they were acting in self-defense. They're actually the ones acting in self-defense because he was aggressing on them. He was holding a gun on them. If you can see in the videos and stuff that is not the case at all. This is the only evidence they have, and they were able to get it in. Yeah, like look how bad it looks on screen right now, everybody. Like look how blurry and fucked up that is. Do you think you can make out anything? And it goes farther back. It goes
Way
even
farther
farther
back.
fucking back where they have to find a blurry little blob of Kyle Rittenhouse with his gun pointed maybe 5 inches higher than it really was.
But I don't even
And
think you can tell much about the way he's holding his gun because in the picture, and I know people have said this, but I've looked at the picture for myself and I agree with them. Although you can't really tell much about what's going on other than that somebody's standing there, if that does show him aiming his gun, at sort of waist height, and you can't really tell what he's aiming it at, it looks like he's holding it with his like left-handed.
yeah, there's been actually some great stuff on Twitter and stuff. People putting comparisons and doing the work that the both the prosecution and the defense did not do.
Should have done.
And also another person to go check out because he was involved with the case to a certain extent was Robert Barnes.
Oh yeah.
He has a lot of insight into the defense's kind of strategy and why they've done the things that they've done, kind of. And basically, the defense just refused to accept outside assistance from anything or crowdsource anything. In the same way, but it's just like they could have done the same thing that cop did, which is just go on Twitter and look for videos.
Yeah.
And then they could have had their own analysis. They could have their own breakdowns. They didn't do any of that. So honestly, I'm so shocked by how like little obvious work they did. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not going to suggest that I'm some sort of expert or I know what the fuck I'm talking about. But I even as a layperson feel like they're just very underprepared for
Yeah.
some of this stuff because it is so clear, and you can make it. You could show people this shit. You can show it to them.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, I
dude,
mean, I
but
heard.
that got in. That got in. That piece of evidence got it's like a blurry little
Yeah.
photo. It got into evidence, so that gives anybody who wants to convict Kyle a reason
Yes.
to do that and maybe split the jury or whatever. Because everybody seems to think, in some respect, he's probably going to be acquitted.
Of the
I
big charges.
of the big charges. He may catch a misdemeanor or whatever. He's not going to go to jail if he gets acquitted of the big charges, which is
He's
what's
also got
important.
time served.
Yeah, exactly. He's already gone to jail for some of this shit. Um, and that's like it's the one thing that could fuck him over,
Yeah.
and it sucks. It sucks because it's not
Because
fair.
it could
It's
have been
not real.
avoided.
It's not, and it could have been avoided, but it's also the evidence is shit. I think even the judge knows the evidence is shit. But this is another aspect of this case. Tons of political outside pressure on these people to do
Yeah.
something. You have isn't the governor of Wisconsin talking about activating the National Guard? What do you think that's a message that sends to the jury or the judge?
But not only that, why didn't she activate? Is it she?
No, I think it's a guy.
The guy. Why didn't he activate the National Guard on the 25th of August?
Oh, you wouldn't want to.
Yeah.
You wouldn't
You don't
want
want
to
to make
mess with
life
these noble
logical.
protesters.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tony Evers, I think.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, he's a Democrat. Democrat.
A Democrat is the. Wow. I thought
No,
Wisconsin.
but what does that do? That signals to people. That signals things to people. So if you're on that jury and then you hear that maybe people are trying to get your name and pictures of you,
Yeah.
the judge even already had somebody. They caught somebody filming the jury, and all they asked
Yes.
them to do was delete the video. You should have kicked that fucker out of there or called for a mistrial. Like, this is like
Yeah.
real serious shit. And I'll give this to the judge. And I know people are trying to they try to decontextualize what he's been doing, try to act like he's on the defense's side.
He's
I
got a
think
tissue box with the American flag, bro.
oh my God, dude. I love how
Fascist confirmed.
they've ceded patriotism to the right completely. They're just like,
Yeah.
if you're at all patriotic, then you must be a Nazi. Like, you're like, what the fuck? But
Yeah.
but I think he's been trying to. All he's doing is trying to ensure the integrity of the process and of the court, because he knows that this will be heavily criticized and scrutinized. So the
Yeah.
media does the same thing the prosecution's been doing. They obscure everything. Obfuscation, obfuscation, obfuscation. They don't talk about any of the substance of what's happened other than like, oh, the judge yelled at the prosecutor, and don't really talk about why.
Yeah.
Maybe when you're violating somebody's Fifth Amendment rights, you're like violating their constitutionally protected rights. You should be
Arguably the
yelled at
most
by the
important.
judge. Like, Jesus
Yeah.
Christ. And it's just the media is so fucking dishonest. I have a hard time watching like mainstream media about the trial because of how even amidst the trial they have facts wrong.
Yeah.
Factual information wrong. Joe
Yeah.
Scarborough's on the fucking TV saying that he shot 60 rounds.
Yeah, I heard that. What the fuck? It was 6 rounds, wasn't it? Or 7?
I think eight. Eight
8.
altogether.
Okay.
Yeah, eight altogether. But that's a far cry from 60.
How would he have done 60 rounds? He would have needed like a huge magazine, like a barrel magazine or whatever, like a drum.
Yeah. And I mean, this is like, it's like a version of, this has been a very popular online term the past couple of weeks, stochastic terrorism. People that are out there kind of just stoking the fires of unrest. Even Tim Pool is accused of stochastic terrorism before.
Okay.
But because people watch them and their entire purview, everything they know about the case comes from assholes like that.
Yeah.
That literally just lie. They just make shit up.
Yeah.
They just make shit up. And the most disgusting part is that they have nothing to gain from it. It does nothing for their careers. It doesn't do anything. They just want to see somebody fucking burn because they were told to.
It's
like,
yeah. Like all it's doing is rotting. They are eroding what was once, and arguably still is, but certainly before it was a much better example of what people should in my opinion, what people should strive for their country to be. If you're gonna, I know people might say, for example, Dan would say, I don't want any form of government, but if you are going to live in a country with any form of government and any form of togetherness, I would say that most people did look to the States. I mean, listen, it's incredibly uncommon for people to get in a boat from England or from America and paddle to, I don't know, Russia
Yeah.
or paddle to China. Like, there is no one doing that. We're getting 1,000 people a day turning up at my local beach, they've thrown away their passports and they're like, right, we're here. And it's a similar set, but in America was, an even bigger example of that. And these people, all they're doing is they are destroying what they are taking for granted. They're destroying that for their own children. Their
Well, because
children,
it's this is what happens to all empires in decline. Like it's like basically you have it too fucking good.
yeah,
You have it so good that you don't even understand the implications of trying to destroy it.
yeah,
You have no idea the amount of suffering humanity collectively has gone through to get
yeah,
Western civilization to where it is, and you guys just want to. I say this to both sides. They just
yeah.
want to throw it away like it doesn't matter.
No,
Like
I
to me,
agree.
there's no difference to me between like Boogaloo Boys and the fucking Antifa guys. They're
But I
they're
think
all
Boogaloo are more in the middle, aren't they? They're kind of like, well, not even
well,
in the
they're
middle. They're
like
just
they're like
chaos.
extreme libertarian esque
Right. Okay.
type people, right? But they are 100,000% against the police, against the
Yeah.
government,
Yeah.
et cetera, et cetera. So they, I mean, I don't think they're not as aggressive, and they don't go out looking for shit in the same way that maybe like maybe the more communist minded revolutionaries in my country act.
Hmm.
But they definitely are of a similar mind
Yeah.
for sure, and they like it.
Oh, I
They
know.
like that this shit happens. They like being able to go and protect the gas station.
Yeah.
It validates their opinion. It proves their point.
Yeah. And they're also accelerationists, aren't they? They think that this stuff accelerates a big change, and that's what they
Yes,
want.
they want it to happen. They want
Yeah.
it to happen to bring up about that change. But
Yeah.
I agree with you. And then also we and I'm not like anti-immigration or anything like that. But like when you take people that do not share your cultural values and then just drop millions of them into a country at the same time, that has an effect, and it has an effect on like what people value and the way people vote, et
Yeah.
cetera, et cetera. It can slowly start eroding stuff because you take people from authoritarian countries or stuff like that, they don't have the same thoughts about that we do about things like freedom of speech and the Second Amendment and all that stuff. They don't care about that stuff. It's not
No.
important to them. And then you have
No.
the government giving them money, so
Yep.
they're loyal to the government, loyal to the state blindly.
Yep.
It's not a good situation. It's not
It's not.
healthy.
It's not. Yeah, I mean, I think most people, and I would say, most people I know at least, would say if pushed and if explained like certain situations, especially if it's based around war and whatnot. Listen, I am more than happy for people that genuinely need help.
Mhm.
I'm more than happy for my country to help them out. Even though, for example, in the UK, we are we are living way beyond our means. We're pretending that it's still 1950 and we're still the second biggest empire in the world. Um, and we're not. We're an island that's it's Florida and a half. That's how big we are.
Mhm.
We have a population of 70 million. We have a small amount of natural resources, but very, fairly small, fairly small. And we do not really have the real um, sort of privilege of being able to actually afford to fund all these people coming in for life, because these people, refugee, it's supposed to be
Mhm.
refuge. You seek refuge from the storm by going inside whilst the storm is happening. You don't go inside and never come out.
Yes.
So we don't have the money to do this, and we're seeing mass inflation and all those sorts of things. So yeah, I think everyone I know would say if people really have issues, more than happy to have them here for a while and help them out. But we cannot. It doesn't work like you said when you have a lot of people. You drop them in one area, and they always tend to go to a certain area.
Yeah,
Like I'm
because
sure in
they're
America, the
people are
immigrants are
tribal.
not begging to go to Milwaukee. They want to go to certain places.
Well, they put them in Milwaukee in little weird homogenized towns, and then they give them a
Yeah,
neighborhood.
yeah,
and it creates tons of problems because they have no reason to assimilate.
No. So in the UK, they were trying to send a lot of these guys that have come here. They were trying to send them to like Scotland and Wales, and they're like, "No, fuck, we don't want to go to Scotland. We want to go to London." Like, what?
Yeah.
We didn't come here to go to Scotland. So it's humorous, but it's also incredibly sad and
Well, it's just
worrying.
yeah, it's like when you try to give a homeless guy a sandwich and he tells you he's vegetarian.
Yeah.
That's a true story. That happened to me one time.
Oh yeah.
I
Yeah.
wouldn't give him money, but I was like, I wouldn't give him money, and I felt bad. I was like, oh, you know what? Well, I'll buy him a sandwich. I don't want to give him money. Clearly,
Good
he
for
has
you.
problems, but I'll give him a sandwich. So I bought him a sandwich. He looked at me with like just nothing but venom, dude. And he was just like, I'm a
You
vegetarian,
need
asshole.
to. Wow. Really?
Yeah. And I was like, all right, well, good luck, buddy.
You should have eaten it in front of him.
I should have,
Shat
yeah.
on his face. No, sorry, that was appalling. I'm sorry. Um,
You might have it.
okay, so at the moment where we left with the Rittenhouse case, today is going to be the final. I can't remember the word for it, but like the final argument.
Closing arguments, yeah.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you.
Yes.
So yeah, closing arguments. The judge has given them 2.5 hours each. I'll tell you right now, Little Binger, Thomas Binger is the prosecutor's name. So if you want to go and leave a review, no, I'm just kidding. I wouldn't. I don't play those games, but you can. Yeah. So Little Binger is definitely going to go over the 2.5 hour mark, and I say that because people that know what they're talking about said that, not because I know what I'm talking about.
Well, he's going
But
to because he's going to assault you with information that it doesn't matter, and that's what
it's
he's going to. It's like trying to wear you down and trying to appeal to your emotions. Like, how do you feel about gun violence?
yes. Yeah, this. Do you know what? I'm going to do my best impression, which will be terrible because I have a memory of a literal goldfish. But I'm going to do my best impression of what summarized Thomas Binger is going to say. He's going to get up there and he's going to say he's going to say. Then this is obviously the prosecutor. He's going to say the defense want you to think that Mr. Rittenhouse or the defendant is just an innocent young man. Da 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 da. But we know that what he really is was a gun obsessed, um, Call of Duty playing, I don't know, whatever. His mother drove him across state lines, or he might not say that if they drop the charges. So I can't remember if they have or if they haven't. She drove him 30 minutes, or he might even say it in seconds. He'll be like, they drove him 1,800 seconds from home into a town that he doesn't even live in. We've heard from the owners of the car place. They claim they didn't ask him to come. He came of his own volition. And we know that when he spoke to Mr. Yellowpants, that he aimed a gun at Mr. Yellowpants earlier in the night, and when they were speaking, Mr. Yellowpants said, "You aimed a gun at me." And the defendant said, "Yes, I did." And in reality, obviously, Carl said, "I did?" He said, "Yes, I did." We then know that he had had many verbal spats with the victim, Mr. Rosenbaum. He shot Mr. Rosenbaum. Mr. Rosenbaum was armed with nothing more than a plastic bag, and he took his life. Then, instead of ringing the police, he rings his best friend to brag about his 360 no scope. He then moves on down the road. Another victim, African American, but he can't get his rifle in front of him in time, so he doesn't get the chance to shoot that man. Then we have Mr. Huber. Mr. Huber just wanted to play skateboards. Carl wouldn't have that, and he shot him in the chest. Killing streak. Third, as you heard from the horse's mouth, Gage Grosskreutz, a man that is so reliable. He is asked to come on to Good Morning America to tell them the truth. What did he do? He vaporized his bicep. Mr. Rittenhouse was a gun-obsessed white supremacist who was driven here by his mother in the hope that there would be chaos and the chance to use his weapon. That's what happened. That's the rough sort of thing. Oh, thank you.
I think that's I totally agree. I think that's going to be like the rough outline of the where they're going to head for sure. Yeah.
Mm.
I don't know if they're going to bring up the Call of Duty thing because I
No.
think that kind of blew up in his face a little bit.
Yeah, it did, big time.
Because everybody was like, "What? We're
Yeah.
going to do this again?"
Kyle's like, is this 1980? Yeah, because he
He's like,
said,
"You kill people in video games, right?" It's
yeah,
like, "Yeah, it's a
but it's not
game."
real life.
Yeah, he actually said that to
Yeah, which I feel like it's every video gamer's, because I'm a gamer, you're a gamer.
Yeah.
Like that was our comeback in the early 2000s, when people would be like, "Hey, do you think these games really maybe have an effect?" I still hear it today, like about my
Yes.
son. Do you think these games make them violent in real life? No. If anything, it actually probably gives them an outlet to vent their rage and anger.
Yes. Yeah.
In
It's like
my opinion, that's just my
It's
humble
well,
opinion.
it's a safe, healthy way to experience
Yeah,
something in the same way that like watching horror movies is a safe, healthy way to be afraid and deal with concepts of fear and stuff, right? It's like,
nicely put.
you
Yeah. So anyway, so yeah, I think you're right. I don't think he's going to bring that. I just did that for some
know,
low level
for
dad
dramatic
humor.
effect. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. But I think that's what he's going to do. He's going to bring up the fact that he said that Yellow Pants supposedly had a gun pointed at him, and that Carl said, "I did," because he kept saying that, even though Carl was like, "No, I said I did." As in, that's news to me. I don't want a physical altercation.
Well, he's
Oh my
also
God.
just like kind of being glib. Like some stranger says, "You pointed a gun at me," and he says, "Yeah, yeah, yeah," and he just keeps walking. Like that's what
Well,
you
he
would
said it was
do.
sarcasm, but if
Yes, it
you
was.
listen to the way he says it, he kind of goes, "Oh, I did."
Yeah,
Do you
no,
not
but
think
that's
that's how he said it?
no. I agree with you. No, I don't think he was like. I don't. I think he was just trying to get away from him. And he was
Yeah,
just saying
exactly.
something to be like, yeah, yeah, I did. And then he
Yeah,
just keeps walking. He doesn't
yeah,
stop and have a conversation with the guy.
yeah.
He's trying to he's trying to leave.
De-escalate.
He's literally, exactly. He's literally trying to retreat from people the
Yeah,
entire time.
yep,
He's trying to retreat from people,
yep. And do you
which
know
is the
what?
standard. That's the standard. If you've tried to retreat and there's nothing else you can do, and I don't even know if I don't know if Wisconsin has like a stand your ground law or not.
I believe
They
that
have like a version of it.
yes, yeah, yeah.
Because in Florida, I know specifically Florida because of the that case with what's his name, George Zimmerman,
Oh
and
yeah,
the kid with the hoodie. I can't even remember his name.
Trayvon
Uh,
Martin.
Trayvon Martin case, yeah, because that was a big thing because it
God
was like
damn, memory
stand your
work.
ground, stand your ground state. That was like one of the ways he didn't get charged.
Right. Okay. Yeah, yeah. I don't know which one's sort of better, really, because the one thing that I will 100% hold my hand up to being and I think I would have felt different before I'd had a child, but now I am a father, which is not a recent thing, but now I'm a father, I do think that I don't want the whole world to just be like, somebody gets a bit aggressive and a guy just whips out a 45 and blows his
No,
head off and is
no.
like, cool. So I do think that we have to be very careful in both of our countries. Like my country went through a stage of being, you basically couldn't defend yourself. You essentially had to just put your hands up and be like, take everything you want, rape my wife, I'm sorry. Please do what you want. It's not so much like that anymore. It's kind of gone back to what it used to be a bit. Like
Yeah,
there's much more
because
now.
wasn't there just a giant burst of like physical violence that happened over like a short period of
Yeah,
time?
there
So people
there
are like,
was.
oh, I guess we can't let people attack us with machetes anymore.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There was that, and there was also a few cases of perfectly good, as they usually are, perfectly good, decent people. Burglars come into their home armed. Surprise, surprise. Criminals will be armed, and there were cases of people being like, "You're in my house trying to rob from me,"
Yeah.
and stabbing them or shooting them. And people were just like, "No, this is bullshit." You were getting people protesting outside police stations saying, "We should be able to defend our homes. You're taking the piss. And yeah, so now it's better than it was under Blair, and that goes for almost everything in the country. Um, but it's nowhere near as good as it is in America. And you guys need to hold on to that. And
But
that's
that's
why, sorry, dude. And that's why I was saying to somebody yesterday, if they try to, and I know this is childish, but I really think it's important. If they do find Rittenhouse guilty, people have to do something. I'm not saying you break him out of the prison van and you do a Mission Impossible, but you cannot just let this one lie, especially if you're local. But write to your governors, your senators, like write to everybody. Do everything you can. Talk to your colleagues at work about it. Talk to your family about it. Show them stuff. If they're like, no, that dude was just a mass shooter. He went there for fun to kill those people. Do everything you can, because once they take stuff like this, I've said this to Dan before, when they took some of our guns, well, they didn't take all of them, but when they did the pistol thing and the semi-auto thing, so now it's basically only like you have to slide it every time. You have to cock it
Mhm.
every time. Essentially, is how it works. That stuff does not creep up on you. It's literally, oh, we're taking your guns, and then a week later, they've taken your guns.
Yeah,
So all the people that are like, you never take my gun, or yes, they will.
they
They
will.
will,
Yeah.
and they'll do it in a blink of an eye, and it will be like a hurricane, and you'll think, what the hell just happened? Because that's exactly what it was like here. They were literally there, and then they weren't.
Yeah. Okay.
And you
That's yeah.
need to be like that with your self-defense laws as well. If you let people do this to this kid, this is the new standard.
I agree with you because even though it's not going to set like legal precedent, it's a cultural precedent.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
we've done something, some real damage to the soul of the United States, but not even just the United States, like Western culture writ large. Like
Yeah.
I said at the top, this case presupposes the concept art that you are allowed to protect yourself, and by extension, you're allowed to protect property. And this is exactly what these people want to take away from you. They want to take away the idea that you could ever build something yourself and have it and want to protect it.
Mm,
And that's why they go for everything. It's all foundational stuff. It's all about attacking the family. It's all about trying to deconstruct the idea of what a family is.
mm.
They want to take that shit away from you. That's why they always want to come after your kids, regardless of what no matter what it is. Somebody's trying to get your kids. Always goes back to kids at some point. It's
Yeah.
very bizarre. Well, it's not bizarre. It's just it actually makes perfect sense
Yeah.
that
It's,
they're trying to indoctrinate your kids or whatever you want to call it, or fuck them. That too.
it
Um,
goes back hundreds of years, thousands of years probably. They go for the kids. The Romans did it, the Greeks
yeah,
did it. You
exactly.
got to
And it's
get the
no different
kids.
now. It's just the methods are different, but it's the
Yeah.
same concept. It's
Yeah.
the same idea. That's what they want, like an internal revolution that comes
Yeah.
that's culturally supported. And
Grassroots.
you got to get hearts and minds. You got to get
Yeah.
those kids believing crazy shit from a very young age. But
Yes.
that's fundamentally that's what all of these like kind of I would call them kind of subversive progressive movements. I don't think they're liberal. I don't even think they're really leftists. I think specifically the word progressive. Like that's like the non-pejorative way to say it.
Yeah.
Um, but that's what they want to do. They want to deconstruct all of these concepts, all of
Yeah.
this stuff, everything that you hold dear in your life. Because they don't have anything, Mark. They don't fucking have anything. These people don't own houses or cars or have
Mm.
families or kids. Most of them don't. They're
Yeah.
just like nihilist anarchists.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they don't even conceptualize, they don't even understand why anybody would think these things are important or worth
Yeah.
trying to preserve. They don't even fucking understand that. And then the people that they get to enact their violence on people are like mongoloids. I hate to say this. Listen, I'm not trying to be a dick. Go look at some of the people that get like the mugshots of people in Portland and
Oh
tell me
yeah.
those are like
I'll give you nightmares.
physically deformed people that have mental illness because of
Yeah.
like it's crazy. And you know that it's people like that Grosswitz dude. He's the guy that tells those people what to do.
100%. 100%. I've been
He's the
thinking that.
supervisor. He's the supervisor
Yeah.
for a team, for a cell somewhere where they all meet Secret Squirrel at the coffee shop in the basement, and they're
Yeah.
all raising their fists and throwing roses around.
Comrade this, comrade
And
that.
he's like, yeah, now because it's very easy to get people that have mental illness or identity issues, if you take them in and
Yeah.
say, I will protect you, you have a place here.
Yeah.
You're important.
Like
You're
family.
special. You're family. You're part of something.
Yeah.
That's what everybody wants. Everybody wants to feel important. Everybody wants to feel like they're part of something, that they're changing something,
Yep.
they're a part of a movement, whatever. Everybody wants that. It's
Yeah.
validating. It gives you a reason to live.
And look, I to younger people that maybe don't have their own house, or don't have their own car, and they see what's going on with the banking systems. I completely agree with you, and I think I completely agree that something needs to be done about it. Do I think that everything else needs to be destroyed as well? Absolutely not. And that's my disagreement. Of course, I understand that Fight Club is just as relevant, if not more so, today as it was in 1997 or whenever it was released, Sean. um,
99. The movie is 99. The book is like 97,
no,
98, though.
thank you, sir. So, that is just as relevant today as it was then, if not more so. And it was probably just as relevant in the 1970s and 60s, even.
Yeah.
But we do not have to destroy everything. And this goes again for both sides. Maybe not both sides, because I feel like there's more sides than two. I feel there's like five.
Yeah, I agree with
But
that for
the
sure.
people that are talking about burning down everything for no governments, perhaps, it's the same as the people that want to burn it all down to have complete government. I do
Mhm.
not agree that it all needs to be burnt down because of some corrupt MFers, because you will always have corrupt motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Look at anything in the world, China, Soviet Russia, modern day Russia, all slightly different. America, Britain, you'll still have corrupt people taking the money and not
Yes.
giving a shit about the great unwashed.
There's always going to be dirtbags. There's always going to be opportunists. There's always going to be
Yep.
these people. You're not going to get rid of them by taking away like the structure. They're
No.
still going to exist. And then whatever new structure finds its way, develops, they will be there
Yep.
still. And you'll still have to deal with it. Like I agree that I think power is a corrupting force in most people's lives when you have like that ability to control. And then once it becomes like too centralized, too big, everything becomes an abstraction. If you're the one that's in charge, you're not looking at people, you're looking at numbers. Like say if
Yeah.
you're the president, right? And you're like, how many troops am I going to send over here to fight this war?
Yeah.
You're not looking at them, you're not thinking in your head, well, those are human beings and they're going to
Yeah.
die.
Yeah.
No, it's an abstract concept. And I think in even to a certain extent, like a microcosm of that is like why people feel why some of these Antifa people feel the way they do about the systems that they don't like or the anarchists, because they're not having to deal with that stuff on a tangible, practical level. It's all abstract ideas.
Yeah.
They're not actually subsisting or existing within those systems anyways.
Yep.
So they don't care about it at all. Um, but I think just when you get something that is very centralized that way, that's why I think everything is about scale. Whether it comes to even from simple things like a union, like a workers' union.
Yeah.
Workers' unions get too big, they're corrupt, they're
Yeah.
awful, they don't help anybody, they actually hold you back. But if you just have a small specialized union, I was in a small specialized union,
Yep.
they're very helpful. They're very beneficial to have. And because
Yep.
you have direct contact with the people that run the union. You go to the place and talk to them. Like you
Yes.
can't do that when you're in a giant union.
No.
So I think about government and I think about like in the United States, we have like, our into the 50 states and whatever. I
Yep.
think like you have to keep things as local as possible to actually not have that effect of corruption, because
Yeah.
they have to feel the stakes. You have to feel tangible, practical realities of the people that you are telling what to do. That's what sucks so much about like in the United States, anyways, and I'm sure it's the same way in over where you live in the UK. Like the people that run the country have no concept of what it actually means to like live in the country that they rule.
I was just going to say exactly
Yeah.
the same thing.
They're not from little small towns or whatever. They're all, like a lot of them. They all live in cities. The DC set, like in Washington
Yep.
DC, they're telling people that like, there's a supply chain problem. I'm sorry, you won't get your Peloton. You're like, no, that's not what people are talking about. You asshole. Oh, you
Yeah.
don't like inflation? Well, I guess you should have saved your money. Like, why don't you just have more money? Like that's
Yeah.
the way they look at shit. You're just
Why
like,
didn't you buy more stocks and shares in Google and fucking Tesla?
I wish it was even that. I wish that would at least be advice. That would
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
It's at least that would be a suggestion. They're
Yeah.
just like, oh, I guess you're fucked.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those are metropolitan concerns, and then you have idiots. You have idiots that just repeat the stuff uncritically. They don't think about it. They're just like, oh yeah, I mean, inflation's good actually. It's actually good that uh, your bank is about to be broken, and the people that say that kind of shit don't have anything. Either they're insulated from it because they have so much money, or they don't have anything, so they don't care. And the
Yeah.
people that don't care are becoming increasingly a larger part of the voting bloc because millennials suck. Our
Yep.
generation sucks, Mark.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree. And I also think that, listen, I think that our parents' generation sucked as well. Like, I really
Oh, it
fucking do.
starts with them. Yeah, it
Like,
starts with them.
in this country, and it might be similar. See, the thing that I don't think that a lot of people fully understand just how massive and powerful and wealthy America is. Like when you look at America on a map, which I like, sometimes if I'm bored, I'll do a Google Maps, go to Area 51, and then I'll go and have a look at some housing estate in Louisiana or something. Because America's just so big, you could do that forever and never get bored. And in the UK, I think we had World War One and World War Two. These guys were brave, proper people, for the most part. They built their lives up. They were all obviously sadly had to get involved in the well, sadly or not, in the military in World War Two. But that gave them many trades. So, like my granddad, he was a top turret gunner and an electrical engineer for the aircraft in a B-17 Flying Fortress, and also a short Sunderland, which is a British-built massive like seaplane, four
Hmm.
engine, bigger than a B-17 that used to bomb U-boats.
Okay.
And from that, he got a job with an Iraqi sheikh to basically be the electrical engineer at the royal palaces. And that was not uncommon because my girlfriend's granddad worked almost the exact same job. So that was absolutely mind blowing. And then so their kids were brought up with fairly big amounts of wealth. Like my mum, love you, mum, but she had a brand new car for her first car. I've never had a brand new car. Like I don't
Yeah.
even know what the fuck that feels like to go in and be like, I'd like it in this color. I'm like, listen, whatever the color is, if I can afford it. So, that's what they had. They bought their first houses for 3 grand, and then they sold them in the 90s for 500 grand or whatever. This is not an exact example of my family because it didn't quite work that way for my family. But most families, of that generation, bought their house for for 4 figures, and most
Yeah.
of them sold them for very large 6-figure sums. And they had fairly good pension schemes, fairly good wages
Yeah. There
during
was
their life.
pathways to upward mobility in the ways
Absolutely.
that I think maybe maybe our parents and maybe it's really more our generation where the apathy I think really so the entitlement. I think
Yeah.
that's what it is. We feel like we're owed something before we have ever done anything.
Yes.
Which is something I felt it in my life as a young man. I know I have
Yeah.
and I was wrong. Like I'm older.
Yeah.
I was wrong.
You don't
Um,
deserve shit.
no, you don't deserve anything. Nobody owes you anything.
Not
And
for
you
yeah,
want,
sorry, that's a better way of putting it. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, you deserve human dignity. But
Yeah.
beyond that, yeah, and I agree with you. And I think that is what it is. Like there was a generation. It's like one of the last generations where they had a real specific concept of their sense of purpose in life. It
Mm,
gave their life meaning. They had upward mobility. You could, as a young person, like start a family and buy a house. That's
mm.
not something you can do really today. It's not as easy. Not like the pathways for that are very limited.
It's way harder
I
in
mean,
this country.
I'm
It's
sure it is.
it's in this country. Um, in the 1970s, an average house for the whole of the UK was 2.5 times average salary. Now it's 8.5 times average salary.
Wow, that's crazy.
You can't even get a mortgage, like unless you're earning 50K a year, which is about $70,000 a year, and there's two of you, don't even bother thinking about buying a house.
Hmm.
And I'm talking about a tiny little 2-bedroom terraced house from, all right, Governor Cockney style house.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Not like an American house with a double garage and.
Well, I think it isn't part of that's like what is population and what's available, right? Like there's
Yeah,
just
it's just the
not
size
enough.
of the.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's not enough stuff to go around, so everything's at a premium.
yeah.
United States doesn't have that problem, Mark, and the housing market is still crazy. Like we
Yeah, that's
have
crazy to
vast,
me.
wide open areas and empty houses, and it's crazy. Even like my wife and I ended up getting super lucky because we found this house. It's a foreclosure, and we were just so happened to
For
like
Sarah, right?
yes, my wife Sarah, and we just so happened to like find out about it before it even went on the market. My mom was just like, I don't know how she found it. She just stumbled on it. She's like, you go check this out. It wasn't even listed yet. We had to get the real estate agent to like call the bank and find what it was going to be because we got this
Wow.
house for like 40,000 under what it's really worth.
Wow.
But we couldn't have afforded a mortgage at any more than what we're paying.
Right.
Like we would have had to live in like fucking Cracktown.
So, yeah.
Like,
So you had to
and we
find a
almost
super
did.
good deal.
And we almost did. We almost did. Yeah, to be able to afford something.
Yeah.
And so yeah, even here, like in terms of our wage, like just I'm not sure what like the percentage of like wage versus like what you pay
Sure,
for
sure.
houses in the United States or what the average is, but yeah, wages haven't met like being able to like really afford a mortgage. You are totally de-incentivized to even purchase property. Period. They don't
Yeah.
like it's almost like they don't want you to. And
Yeah.
like a lot of like the first time home buyer loans, they're much harder to get than they used to be. And you have to like, my wife and I got very lucky. We got just happened upon like some really good people that really helped us, like worked with us, like a lending agent that like really went above and beyond to help us get our house.
Yeah.
Which is not normal. It's not like my wife's just very nice. It's my wife. She handled most of it, like in terms of talking to people, and she's
Yeah.
very disarming and nice. So it's probably helped. It's probably good that I was not speaking most of the time.
She is very charming.
But yeah, so yeah, I think it's just I don't know. It's like the generational problem that we're having now is like it's the reason why Jordan Peterson became so popular.
Yes.
It's because
Yeah.
he's telling people that you need to find something to live for beyond just living.
Yeah.
There needs to be more that grounds you. And people may think, oh, this is weird. This is be a weird tangent to go on relative to Kyle Rittenhouse, but it's not. This is like this whole situation, that event even happening is a
It's
product.
pivotal.
It's a product of all this stuff.
Yeah.
This is a long time coming. This has been
Yes.
building for the past 40 years.
You've got a kid here, like a middle class kid, who travels across country to go up on stage and say "Vive la Revolution" in the most powerful country the world has ever seen. That's a problem. Why are there so many middle class white kids screaming "Vive la Revolution"?
That's like I said before, it's everything's an abstraction. They have
Yeah.
no tangible hands on anything, you know what I mean?
Yep. So yeah, I mean, I can empathize with them to a degree. I just don't like I don't like the sort of I don't like the lack of common sense in some of their ideas and just like the intellectual dishonesty. Like Hassan Piker to me summarizes these kids.
Yes,
He
that's why
is
he's so popular.
yeah, like he's this good looking good looking kid, comes from a wealthy family, is very wealthy himself, very successful himself, still whines and whinges about everything. You
Yes.
know, the way he spoke about Carl Rittenhouse almost got me as angry as the way Joy Behar did. Like, it was disgusting. He was
Oh yeah.
talking about, he was like, he looks like a pig. He looks like a pig. Holy shit. This is from the crowd of body shaming and fat shaming and this shaming and that shaming. And he's like, he looks like a pig.
Oh yeah.
Great.
All these people, these progressive people that are all about you lack empathy. You lack empathy for these communities. That's why you don't care and blah blah blah. That's why you want to own a house because you lack empathy for people that don't own houses. They're like they're the
Almost
first
hypocrite.
people to make rape jokes,
Yep.
to mock a kid having a panic attack basically on the
Yeah.
stand. saying that crocodile tears, even Merriam-Webster's dictionary tweeted out the definition of crocodile tears.
Really?
Yes. This is how sick all this shit is. This is how deeply ingrained it is. And I don't want to be like, this is why this is kind of important to me, this Kyle Rittenhouse thing, because it may be too late. It may be over. Like we may be living amidst an inevitability. The opulence, the opportunity, we have it too good, and this is what's gonna fucking happen. We're gonna break ourselves because we can't appreciate what we have. We on a fundamental level, we just have no respect for the journey of human civilization to get us to where we are. No respect for it. People don't even know history. Like it's I don't know. I'm sorry. I'll get off my
No,
soapbox.
do
But
not be sorry. I've really enjoyed this. I'm just trying to, when someone's really convincing you, and then the last piece of hope kind of makes you think, no, that's not going to happen.
no,
I'm
I
like
don't
trying to
want it to.
snap myself
I,
together.
dude, I don't want it to happen. Like I'm a
No, I know.
person that proactively wants to fight against that. I have a YouTube channel and stuff, and I like to have fun and joke around. But the more I've gone about this, it's like, no, I don't care if I have 1 billion people watching me or 50 people watching me. Somebody has to fucking not be crazy.
Yeah.
And the more not crazy people just talking, the
Yep.
better. That's what you
Absolutely.
need. You got to flood the zone with not crazy people. And
100%.
I don't think I'm crazy. I'm probably a little crazy, but
You
hopefully
are
in a
crazy.
hopefully in an entertaining way at the very least. But like it's important to talk about these things. It's like important when you see the erosion of everything being like deconstructed. Everything Jordan Peterson talked about 5 years ago is just now they just say it out in the open. It's not even
Yeah.
nobody's hiding the ball anymore.
Yeah.
Nobody's being duplicitous anymore, which I guess is good because at least you know who you're against now to a certain
Yeah.
extent. Because people aren't hiding it anymore. They don't have to pretend like they're not socialist or communist sympathies or whatever. Now they can just be out loud and proud. It's like, well, at least I know who you are now, and I
Exactly.
can address you directly.
Yeah. And that's why free speech is so important, because if you have free speech, to me, I don't give a crap about whether or not, I can insult my queen. Obviously I can. I can insult my prime minister. Obviously you could do that stuff. Not that the UK has the US's golden level, well, supposed golden levels of free speech.
Yeah.
The curtains seem to be drawing in on that a bit. But I, the most important thing for me for free speech is that I know who the nut jobs are. I know what they think, and I
Yeah.
know what they're planning.
That's why you don't want to drive these people to the underground of the internet. This
Exactly.
like obliterating all these people off of every social media platform is so fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Because you think they're gonna stop? Like, no, you've just made them martyrs. Like, that's all you're
Yeah.
doing. That's
And
all you're
piss them
doing.
off.
And it's not even well, it pissed them off, but also throw them into an even more intense echo chamber.
Yeah, sorry, what I meant was you've lit a fire underneath them. They're now not going to just be
Yeah, they're more
2%,
they're more
you know?
activated. And then people see that and they're like, oh, well, I'm a free speech person, so there must be something here, and maybe somebody ends up getting involved with them because they just want to feel like they're doing the right thing or whatever, and then get wrapped up in their bullshit. I see it happen all the time. Happens to young people all the time.
Yeah.
And I used to be kind of dismissive about that stuff like a few years ago. Like,
Yeah, me too.
whatever. It's just internet shit. Like, you got to just have perspective, blah blah blah. Guess what? Some people don't. They just don't.
Yeah.
And some people just like they hear something that is kind of in the direction of what they believe, and then before you know it, before you know it, they're like little weird authoritarian fascist kids talking about murdering immigrants to help climate change and like
Dude.
all sorts of wild shit. And I used to think that stuff wasn't that big of a deal. I really did. And
Yeah.
I feel like that's because it hadn't been around long enough for me to see what would happen.
Yeah.
Like internet culture as we know it and social media and message boards and stuff, that's a relatively new phenomenon for human life.
Very new.
So we don't know how it's going to affect our brains long term. We just don't know. I mean,
I
I think
think about that all the time.
we already see the effects in kids with social media. Like suicidal ideation goes up. It's like 200% up. Things
Well,
like that. Depression up.
the trans movement, I don't know what it is in the States, but in the UK from 2010 to 2020, we had a 22,000% increase
Yeah,
in doctors reporting children saying that they had
yeah,
gender
because
dysphoria.
the standard has become psychotic. The
Yeah,
standard has
yeah,
become like, my son put on a dress. What does that mean, doctor?
yeah,
Maybe he might be trans. Like, no,
yeah.
that's
He
not what
just
it
bought a
means.
dress.
Oh, dude, that's another bugaboo. I have like that's my a new long line in the fucking sand. I have no animosity towards any individual person. Just want to put that out there. None whatsoever. I judge people as I am treated and as they act. But the lobby, the activist wing of like the trans movement, are psychos. They're
Absolutely.
psychotic. They literally want to destroy the concept. And this is the thing. It ain't fucking trans men. It's trans women. It is mentally ill men that I'm trying not to get you in trouble.
No, go for dude. My channel's full of it.
Okay, they're mentally ill men that are trying to literally usurp femininity as a concept. They literally want to take it over. They're demanding that you let them be women and let them hold women's positions and break records and be the first woman to do such and such, even though they lived as a man for like 40 years. Like,
Dude,
are we out of our fucking minds? We're gonna
when I,
let this go, and it's creepy and it's all about this like can't offend anybody, can't do anything like this culture. Like I said, I don't believe in harassing people. I don't believe in treating an individual poorly just because of something like this. I don't. But I think the ideology behind it, the beliefs, this erosion of actual just biological reality, and we're not even allowed to talk about that anymore, is really dangerous. Again, another kind of example. This is Jordan Peterson kind of popularized people being aware of this stuff. This postmodern movement that started in like the 1950s in earnest starts in the 1950s with some of these like contemporary philosophers and stuff that came into the academic system and really did a number on this stuff. And now we're just starting to see it seep into culture. It took a long time. This was a long-term project.
yeah,
And
terrifying.
now it's kind of here.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
I'm just not playing fucking games with that shit anymore at all. Anymore. Like, no way. Like I said, I'll never be disrespectful to a person. That's the person I was talking about. Yes.
I knew, I knew.
Yeah.
And I agree with you.
I couldn't remember their
Rachel
name.
Levine, yeah. Admiral Rachel Levine.
Well, I guess
And
Rachel Dolezal should be given a fucking award then. A real pioneer. A real pioneer.
isn't it crazy that we've got like this little list, like this little all-stars team of complete nutters like Shaun King, a white man that we still think is a black man?
I
What the
think
fuck is going on?
most people have turned on him. That's why he's like not as forward facing anymore because
Right.
he ripped off so many people
Yeah.
with his activism, his quote
But
unquote activism.
he's literally a white dude that's claiming to be black
I
and
love
insults
he's
white people.
I'm glad that he exists because of the memes, like
Yeah, that's true.
the
That's true.
Talcum X thing is the most perfect. Talcum X is the most perfect insult ever, and that's something that black people
Malcolm X.
started. That was black people started that. Call him
Yeah,
Talcum
yeah.
X.
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, but the only thing that I do think is very dangerous for people like Talcum X is there was that time where a little African American girl was shot as an accident, but it was
Yeah,
some sort of shooting at a stoplight, and he put out a picture of this random white dude sitting. I think it was like a tradesman, maybe a carpenter, like a
hmm
chippy, and he was, and they were like, "We need to get this guy." And then it was like, "Oh no, it was a couple of gangbangers." Turned out like a week
yeah.
later.
And that's not an isolated incident either.
No,
He does shit like that all the time, or he used to. He used to have a lot more influence a couple years ago, but
yeah,
it was when they found him basically stealing money, basically committing fraud. And actually, some of the people, the top people in that movement, have basically been found out to be complete frauds in terms of not frauds maybe with what they believe. I think they're hypocrites, but they were literally defrauding their own charities, their own organizations,
yeah.
buying like beautiful extravagant homes and like
Oh
like
no,
just like Hassan Piker, just another one of these assholes who just now they're like millionaires now and they want to take everything from you. They're like, well, I'm insulated from the effects of this. Why don't you do something?
yeah, like Patrice Cullors. Like the person that stole the name Black Lives Matter off that guy in California who was actually doing good work for
Hmm?
inner city black kids
Yeah,
and was raising 20, 30 grand a year, and he was buying them football gear, pads and balls and baseball stuff and doing, and then they come along and they're like, and they admit like, yeah, we're trained Marxists and
it was on,
subverted.
dude. It was on the website. They had whatever, like the heads of BLM, like they were there. There was like an official version of it, of the
Yeah,
people
I
that
saw it.
the ones that our government, my American government, gave millions of dollars to. Like I think it was like
I know.
$60 million they donated or something like that to this organization. This is the BLM, the organization, but right on the website, it said we want to eradicate the family unit. We don't believe in private property. We're avowed communists.
It's
Terry
crazy.
Crews Terry Crews brought it up on the news, and they tried to like destroy him. They tried to go after him because
Yeah, Terry
Terry
Crews.
Crews had a moment where he got popular and he was on a lot of news things because he like was a male Me Too guy.
That's actually Steven Crowder as Malcolm X, but I
You
just thought
may, yeah, you may
he
be
looks so
confused.
similar.
He does actually. That's actually pretty good. I don't love everything Steven Crowder does, but that was pretty good. Although
That's good.
I feel like I've actually like him more now than I used to.
Yeah, me too. He can be a bit of a dick. Like some of the stuff he said about climate change is just a bit iffy, but he
Yeah.
says it as if it's kind of the golden truth. But I would rather listen. He's more my type of guy than somebody like Gage Grosskreutz is.
Yes, he's closer to me in spirit than that. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah,
So
terrible
yeah,
picture. But the guy on the left obviously is
we see a man on the right, actual black man.
yeah,
See
black
a
dude,
man on the left,
Malcolm
fake
X.
fake black man.
Yes. So yeah,
One
kind
of
of
these
mind blowing,
albinos.
really.
One of these albino black people.
Yeah. I mean, nah.
Dude, he even look what he's doing. He flares out his
I was
nostrils.
just thinking that. I was like, should I say that?
Yeah, no, dude, that's like he's like because his concept, it's kind of like in the way that when like trans women, when they want to present as female, right? They just engage in stereotypes of
Oh
what
yeah.
women features, makeup, clothing. It's all just stereotypical stuff. So when Talcum X here thinks about like, well, I'm a black person. Well, people have big noses. They flared out nostrils. So I guess I got to
Yeah.
flare my nostrils out. It's
Yeah.
like it's crazy because it's something he does in pictures, and he doesn't really do it other places.
Oh
I've seen
really? Well, he
video.
doesn't do it on videos and stuff.
I think he does like sometimes, but I've seen him without that before though.
Yeah. There we go. Computer
Okay, with Shaun
generated.
King
What?
accoutrements.
Yeah, accoutrements.
That's
My
pretty
God,
good.
he's black.
Pretty good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
Shaun King's he's a fucking he's just such a piece of shit. Like I don't even know what to say about these kind of people anymore. I'm just like trying not so hard, Mark, not to just be a black pilled asshole. Like I really don't want to be.
well,
Really don't want to be. But sometimes I get up to a point. I'm just like, well, I can't even talk to these people. Like the Kyle Rittenhouse thing, right? Good to go back to that is a perfect
yes.
example for me of being like, if you looked at the case, if you've been paying attention to the case and you think that kid should go to jail, I don't know if we have much to talk about anymore.
No, I agree.
Because you live on a different planet. You live on a
Yep.
different fucking planet than I do. Like, and I
Yep.
don't know what I can do to salvage that. Other than, but I also firmly believe sometimes you just beat a dead horse so that somebody sees you beating a dead horse.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's the way it's got to be, and that
That's a
sucks.
nice little.
It sucks for people that like know or feel that way.
Yes.
Like if you have any type of moral compass, it's like it sucks, but it is kind of on your shoulders to be better than the people you don't like. And I know
Yeah.
that sucks. I know it sucks, but it's what it's got to be. You got to
And
do it.
however we want to label the sort of people that we are fighting this culture war against, and we're definitely full on in a civil culture war
Mhm.
or a cultural civil war. Absolutely, we have been. People over here getting censored, and well, more so much banned and cancelled than censored. Absolutely, we're in the middle of a cultural civil war, and it doesn't make me happy to say that, but that's the way it is. And I just think that the only thing that gives me, or the thing that gives me hope is that 95% of normal people, like people that aren't super into politics and stuff like that, are more right wing in air quotes than you or I. Like
Yeah,
these people are, I would say, like a traditional, um, like a Teamster almost from the scene, like a 70s Democrat. So like, yeah, we
yeah,
believe in civil rights, but that's kind of pretty much it. Like, um, yeah. So that gives me some hope because it's nice to speak to real people and they can't believe the stuff that's going on. The unfortunate thing is that it then makes you think, well, if everybody is like this and still that small majority that shouts loudest is having such a big effect, what happens when the next generation comes along and half of them feel like this as opposed to 7%?
yeah. No, but that's really fundamentally what we're up against, right? There is, I don't know, like I said before, I don't know if it's too late. I don't know. I really don't. But I mean, I've the people that are coming up to reach echelons of power are like crazy brainwashed people.
Mm.
They're all crazy progressive people because they went through like college, and those are the people that are going to be controlling the levers of power. And it's
Yeah.
going to be really hard to hold them accountable. Like people think like in the United States, like AOC and Ayanna Presley and like Rashida Tlaib, they're crazy. Wait until people that are 15 years younger than them get in those positions. You want to see crazy, but that's like a perfect example of like how a lot of people think is people like that.
Yeah.
They have let go, and they don't even hide it anymore. Mark, they just say openly, it is more important to be what more important to be what? What did AOC said? More important to be emotionally true
Oh
than factually
yeah.
true, something like that, or no,
More yeah
morally
than
right.
factually honest or something.
Yeah, yes, something to that effect.
Yeah, it's
And
mind blowing. Mind blowing. The reason I brought up this picture is because, yeah, like going from what you were saying, it would not surprise me in the least if it hasn't already happened that this smarmy commie is like raised up as a poster boy of the new America.
yes, yeah, they try to like rehabilitate him by putting him on news shows and giving him no pushback. He went on national media after testifying, contradicting his own testimony, and not a single one of those fucking people that put him on the air even asked him about it.
No.
They
And
were more interested in like, do you think Kyle was really crying?
I
How
know.
fake were those tears? How
If
fake were
if
they? You're just like,
if
you
that
disgusting fucking piece of shit. Like,
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the way you could clearly see that he couldn't breathe, like he was having a panic attack, and nobody, if right, so if Carl's going to fake cry because he wants to get everybody on his side, I'm not trying to be an asshole, but he's not the most pretty crier. He is a
no,
he's a fairly ugly crier, and
yeah,
we can all be an ugly crier, but he no one does that if they're trying to appeal to the public because he looked like an absolute mess, like anybody with PTSD would.
yes. It's because he's crying, having a panic attack, trying to talk, all at the same time,
Feeling the
not
pressure.
knowing because he doesn't know that like he can stop. Right? You're on the fucking stand. Thank God somebody stepped. Thank God the judge stepped in and said, "Oh, we're going to take a break," because
Oh yeah, dude.
his counsel was just like, "Take a breath, Kyle. Thanks,
Yeah,
guys."
yeah,
But like,
yeah. Oh yeah, Richards was like, yeah, take a breath, Kyle.
which I
Like,
understand. Like, they don't want to act like they're trying to coddle him too much. Like, they need him on the stand, and they need him to say, "Well, they didn't need him actually. They shouldn't have put him on the stand, but
no.
they did."
And
So,
I just
I
want to
mean,
say, I just want to say one thing about this guy as well. And this is a kind of a joke, but I also mean this as well. They call this guy, what do you call those things in his ears?
oh, gauges
Gauges.
or plugs.
So Gage, his name is Gage. They call him earplug guy. Some people do because they can't remember, or they
Yeah,
can't pronounce his name. But those things in his ears, don't tell me if I'm wrong. Like I'm a former skater. I never went for the massive African earlobe whole thing, but a
yeah.
lot of people around me did. And you start off in one size and you grow and bigger, and
Hmm.
then they look freaking ridiculous. This guy doesn't even have the commitment to do genuine earlobes. When he took those out the other day, he had tiny little dots.
Yeah.
So he's trying to look like a
Look
skater
like
boy,
yeah.
but he doesn't even have the commitment to do that.
No, yeah, because some people do like the magnets
Yeah,
just to make it look like they have them in.
yeah,
Yeah, it's like an aesthetic choice. It's like people that wear glasses that don't have to wear glasses.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, because he's trying to put off that image, a stereotype.
yep.
Because people, whether we like to admit it or not, we size up and stereotype every single person we see.
We judge
And when
books.
you so like, I wear, band t-shirts and movie t-shirts because basically what I'm doing is signaling to other people, I like these things. Do you like them too?
This is
Come
my
fi-
tribe.
come find me, right? And that's why you do stuff like that. It's very performative. It's I think it's more subconscious than anything for most people, but yeah, I
Yeah,
agree with you. He's not even the real deal in that capacity.
no. And so, yeah, when I
We
saw
should
those.
actually, we should check to see if this guy's a Fed. Just joking. Little joke. But he probably is. No, I'm just- I mean, shit, dude. But that's the crazy thing about it. I mean,
It wouldn't surprise me.
well, in the United States, we're seeing more and more. Every single giant dramatic thing that happens, you're like, oh yeah, there was like 50 feds involved with that. You're like, oh, great.
But there
Like the
were.
the Gretchen Whitmer kidnapping, 18 people were involved, right?
Yeah,
For Governor Gretchen Whitmer of Michigan, governor of
yeah.
Michigan. Uh, 12 of them were informants or FBI agents
Got the
out,
front door.
out of 18.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Jesus, I thought it was like 3.
So basically, at some point, that's like entrapment. Like you're just like you're
That has
create,
to be.
but that's like the secret history of the past 30 years of the United States.
Yeah.
Like every single one of these events, you will find the Fed's fingers and all over it. And sometimes it seems like they're the ones that actually spur this shit on.
Dude. Do you, so I don't know what they call it, but the January 6th, whatever it was, like whatever I can't even remember the word they used, which is wrong anyway, but the January 6th event at the Capitol, like, did you see the picture of those guys? There was like 6 dudes, and they were all like buff as hell, and they all had exactly the same Tag Heuer watch. And then
Yes,
everyone was like, Feds.
there was like a honeypot event, I guess you would call it, that was supposed to be in support of the January 6th prisoners. Because whether you like those people or not, they are kind of political prisoners.
Yeah, they are.
Whether you think what they did was good, bad, whatever, indifferent.
Stupid.
If you're held in prison with no bail until
That's
there's a
bullshit.
trial, you're just held there indefinitely with for minor charges. We're talking like trespassing. They're not
Yeah.
even because they're called insurrectionists. Not a single person has been charged with that because there's no basis for it.
Dude, it's
But yes,
do you know what?
so a bunch of guys that were clearly feds were just hanging out
Yeah.
in the park that day during this demonstration that thankfully nobody showed up to. Like
Yeah.
50, I think there was more media and feds there than there were actual participants in it. You had like
Yeah.
an autistic kid in a Daniel Boone hat, and the media was like all over him talking to him. You're just like, oh, okay, I see what you're doing, guys. Like,
Yeah, it's a bit obvious now. But yeah, like you said, it seems that they've been doing it forever. The thing is, though, I feel, and listen, I could be wrong. Like I could definitely be wrong, but I feel like one of the differences between the people that would consider themselves still somewhere in the middle, even if like on some topics they feel like they're libertarian, on other topics they might even feel like they're anarchists, and then on other topics they feel like whatever. But they feel like overall they're a pretty reasonable person that realizes that almost everything in life for it to work has to be roughly in the middle. Um, and which is why when they say things like Western standards of beauty, it's not about Western standard of beauty. It's that human beings like average. Women, whatever they say, they don't want a guy that's 6'7". They don't want a guy that's 4'7". They want a guy that's about 5'10", because
because
that's
it's
roughly in the middle.
yeah,
They don't want a guy, that has really light skin, and maybe they don't want a guy that has really dark skin. They want a guy that has a sort of caramel skin. And I'm telling you, that is human nature.
it's
That's
human
it.
nature because it implies stability in a
Exactly.
weird because you're not an extreme.
You're not
Even just
extreme.
physically,
Exactly.
you're not extreme in any way. So it makes people feel safe. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And I've lost my point. Bollocks. It doesn't matter.
Well,
Oh
what
yeah,
people
sorry, I got it. So I was going to say, I feel like the people that are roughly in the middle, they do not wish anywhere near the levels of harm, if any harm, on your generic far lefties. So, okay, there might be some specific far lefties that kind of really grind my gears, like Joy Behar, like Hassan Piker.
Yeah.
You know, if I saw him on the street, I'd probably end up in jail. But I feel like the sort of centristy people wouldn't want that. So if some lunatic lefties had done January 6th, I feel like there would definitely be a lot of initial anger and how dare you, you lefty bastards, commies going into our capital. Don't you lie, people, because there would definitely be that.
Of course
But
there would.
but I don't think that there would be that same level of like, good, I'm glad they're in there a year and a half later or whatever, or a year later. I don't think you'd
Yeah.
have the same amount of people wishing that you get on the left. They just want the
Of
worst.
Yeah, because it's all about tribalism. It's fucking ridiculous. This is why I said it earlier. It's so important to maintain your principles and do not act like the people you fucking dislike. You
Yeah,
dislike them because of their attitude. Be better than that, for Christ's sakes. Like
yeah,
just like the Kyle Rittenhouse thing, you can be of the opinion that that kid sucks and he shouldn't have been there. Does
yeah.
not mean he should go to jail.
No,
Doesn't mean that. Doesn't.
no.
Period. End of story. Just or you could think those the January 6 people were insurrectionists, terrorists, whatever. They still deserve due process. They
Yeah,
still deserve not to be in poor conditions in prison. Like this is human rights violations. What are you talking about? Where's your empathy? Where is it now, everybody? But I totally agree with you. The right, this would be just a fucking talking point for them too. Be
mm,
the same shit if a bunch of Antifa people stormed the Capitol. They wouldn't because they're pussies. Because that actually might do something. Might
yeah,
actually suffer a consequence.
yeah.
And the
Absolutely.
storming and the storming of the Capitol, it's all like so like over the top because now we kind of know have a much better idea of what actually happened now,
Mm,
and it's not at all what was like sold to people the day after. And I've said this many times on my own channel and stuff. I totally got hoodwinked that first day because I was watching it while it happened. I was like, holy shit! I
yeah.
thought I was like, oh no, they should impeach Trump. They should impeach him because
Wow.
I made that same leap everybody did. Whereas like I'm watching him give a speech, 10 minutes later I'm watching video of people breaking windows at the Capitol, not realizing
Yeah,
that they're not tied together because those people were not at that speech and didn't even hear what he said. So
no.
it's like there's I did that I made that logical leap because you're in the midst of something and you're just like looking at a narrative, you're looking at something, and I got caught up in it, and I admit that because I changed my opinion like within a few weeks, but
Yeah.
like I in the
But
moment I definitely did.
yeah, but listen, dude, like we were saying before today, it's about admitting you're wrong. If you can't admit you're wrong, I don't even want to talk to you because
Yes,
there's
I
no
agree.
point because we're never going to come to an agreement. Secondarily, it's like you were saying as well, it's about editing. Like if you edit a scene in a movie, you can make it look
Yes.
however you want. And they did that. They had Trump saying, "Now let's go to the Capitol and make your voices heard." And then they're like, cut to the Capitol, and people are bashing their way in.
Yeah.
Now, in reality, like you said, there were already people bashing their way in when Donald Trump was saying, let's go to the Capitol.
Yeah.
And they were different groups of people.
And when he was going, said, "Let's go to the Capitol," they had a planned event. Like it wasn't something that like he
Yes.
was just
Yeah.
like, "We're going there to take back America." Like it wasn't quite like that, right?
Yeah.
And people get really over the top of this. The worst thing since not this is worse than 9/11 because
Oh
it
my
attacked
God.
the fabric of our democracy. You know what? I said this. I think I even said this the day it happened, and I'm surprised. I hope I never get in trouble for it. I was like, hey, at least those people took their grievances where they fucking belong. They didn't go
Oh,
burn down DC. They didn't go burn down DC. They took it exactly where it should be.
agree.
Like if you want to be a fucking revolutionary asshole, why don't you stop burning down your own neighborhoods and go do something, asshole? I dare you.
Absolutely.
No, but they're cowards. They're cowards. Anybody that's actually gonna do something,
Yeah.
they wouldn't be doing that. Like say like people just started arming up and like lining fucking the roads and shit whenever Antifa would show up, they'd stop showing up. I guarantee
Yeah.
you. At least for a while until they move somewhere where they could buy a gun, I guess. I don't know.
Oh, I absolutely agree. All right, dude. Well, my bottom is going numb.
I hear you, buddy.
this chair. So I think we'll call it a day and go and check out Rakita. Although I feel like maybe you've already had a look at Rakita.
Have, what today?
Rakita Law. Have you checked out Rakita in the last
Oh,
couple of hours?
Ricada Law. Yeah, they're doing right now. They're live doing it. Quick update. Rittenhouse update. The gun charge is out. It is official. The gun was not illegal,
Kapow!
which is a good thing. It's actually really good because now
It,
they can't even try to suggest that he illegally owned a gun and crossed state lines and blah blah
yeah,
blah. All that shit's out.
he
So
was
that's good to
allowed to
hear.
be there.
Because as soon as I get off here, I'll probably go watch.
Me too.
I'll probably go watch some stuff.
Me too. So listen, Sean. Um, ZooBox. ZooBox
Yes,
is your channel.
everybody can find me. You look up ZooBox or ZooBox Podcast on YouTube. I'm at Shaun ZooBox on Twitter and also on Instagram. I think it's at ZooBox Podcast on Instagram. That's mainly where I inhabit. I'm usually Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Also, I
And
do live streams other places, but there's links. If you go to my channel, there's links for all that stuff.
there's always links to ZooBox in every single one of my videos because I find ZooBox one of the most entertaining things on YouTube. So any of my
Thank you, sir.
videos, if you want to just jump straight to ZooBox, because there is another guy that used to be called ZooBox in Germany, and sometimes they give you his thing. Check out any of my videos, and you'll see the link.
I did. I looked that up when we started the channel. I'm like, there's one asshole who has like an actual
Yeah,
zoo
yeah,
toy like aquarium channel, and I was
yeah.
like, all
He's
right, well
German.
he's not gonna come get me. He'll be fine. Well, I'll be fine. I'll be all right.
Yeah.
But yeah,
But
and
yeah,
same thing. And thanks so much for having me on, man. I really enjoyed catching up. It's been too long. It's been too long. Hopefully, we can
yes,
try to make this more of a regular thing in the future.
yeah,
Um, it'd be awesome because I really enjoy hearing your perspective, and it's also just good to keep in touch with like-minded people. It really
yeah,
is. Uh,
absolutely. And I think everybody in the Western world or anywhere in the world, I don't care whether you're in the West or not. Like if you have a similar mindset that the ability to live free or as free as you can is fairly important, um, then you have to talk about it to people. Anyway, thanks guys. I really appreciate you watching, and I will see you again soon.
Winston stopped writing, partly because he was suffering from cramp. He did not know what had made him pour out this stream of rubbish